Alright, so today we will be going over the patch notes for 3.5 for the support and protect and support patch.
Yep.
I wonder if you can probably guess what the skins are. You can see them right here. You got the Cyberpunk Amaterasu. Probably we'll see a return to play because of all the balances and patches. A little bit of tweaks here and there for her.
Yeah.
Made her a
I'm a
little
big
bit
fan of
better.
Amaterasu. Like she's something different from the typical warrior that we're used to getting. I mean, as every warrior has, I mean, she has her heal, but I mean, like the movement that she has reminds me of like what Nemesis could have been.
Hold on. Uh, yeah, I feel like Gotham Amaterasu is a really good, one of the better, one of the better characters out there right now, or gods, I should say, out there as of
Hmm
right now. But there's a lot of counter. You have to play her rather correctly in order to dominate, which is
Exactly.
rather hard to do because she is a kind of all-in character. Otherwise, she's screwed. And her doesn't help that her heal. You have to use her one, which costs quite a bit of mana at level one.
And that's a really strong way for Amaterasu to start too. Like you start with the one, and you switch to the power,
Hmm.
and that bonus 15 power to literally clear the camps that much faster.
Yeah, that's definitely a good, yeah, clear the
Good
way
place to
really
start, but yeah,
quickly. Yeah,
she's very mana intensive,
yeah,
indeed. Anyway,
almost as mad as Tyr, but then again, Tyr is just fucking
dude, Tyr's a
monster.
beast.
Monster, level 5, you can't really stop him.
Mm-hmm. I
Next skin,
agree.
we have some police type skins. Whoop whoop! That's the sound of the police. Whoop whoop! That's the sound of the beast. Yeah.
I
So,
like that they went with a Anubis skin here. Like I like that he was picked for this particular skin.
yeah, so there's gonna be. I feel like Anubis is gonna return to casual play just because of the skin.
Mm-hmm.
However, some of the animations I don't really agree too well with it. So yeah, there's that. The Athena skins. Basically, they couldn't think of whether they could go with the no mask or mask, so they
Why
gave
not
you
give them
both.
both?
Yeah. So yep, it's amazing. These skins are actually really high quality. I've seen them, like they've showed them off in game. And it's actually really amazing looking at them. They actually
Nice
look really.
futuristic pop kind of look
Yeah.
to it.
Kind of reminds me of the first one. Kind of a little bit reminds me of Mass Effect in a sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
got that Tali Zora.
yeah,
Shout out to Tali.
yeah, definitely. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Chiron
definitely.
getting his mastery skins.
Yeah,
Definitely
Chiron
going to
getting.
be good.
I feel like it's a lot of people say like, or a lot of the designers are like, oh, this is one of my more favorite skins, and it's just like, or master skins. I looked at it and I had some time to contemplate it. Not a huge fan, I gotta say. Not a huge fan.
Mm.
Because there really isn't much armor on Chiron to begin with, and I feel like that kind of, I guess, how do you say, kind of makes the skin look less
A little bit
pretty,
cluttered.
yeah, than the
But
others.
but let's be honest. The Hellrider Chiron skin that just came out last patch, everybody's been playing that. Like that skin is just
Yeah,
so fun.
I don't think anybody, like, honestly, I think, what's it, Chiron's free color or tier 2, whatever it's called? The one where he's got a helmet?
The yeah, the Chevalier
Yeah.
is the official name of it. That one's pretty dope. I use that one a lot.
Yeah, I feel like if that was his regular skin and they had a master skin for that, it would look really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
But
could be
moving
said
on.
for Apollo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, same could be said for Apollo. Like when I was looking at his diamond skin, I was like, why not make him his recolor? Like give him the color, give him that color hair of his recolor, and then deck him out. Just felt like the stuff would have looked better.
Yeah, definitely. He looks a lot of tier 2 skins just look better than the original, but then again, that's why they're tier 2.
Exactly.
And
All right.
so updated God skin cards. I'm not exactly sure what they did to the Fnatic on her.
I was gonna say, yeah, that looks almost the exact same.
I guess maybe because Fnatic changed the logo a little bit or something. I guess no need to go over that in too much detail. And the new voice packs, of course, from those skins ahead. And then there's a PS4 beta icon. I did not see this,
Yeah.
which is
Smite's coming to PS4.
yeah.
This has already been the start of things to
Apparently
come.
they're gonna be at like whatever that new Masters or DreamHack. What was it called? Whatever it's called.
Yeah, and the DreamHack I think is going to be the official first line of the
Uh huh.
of season 3, I believe. Should be really good.
I mean, they do things like this, and it feels like Smite is going in the right direction, esports wise. But when they fail to balance the game, sometimes it kind of like depresses me a little bit.
Well,
But
they're doing a lot better with the balance, in my opinion. Like
yeah,
because they're making small changes.
yeah, I
Like
feel like
they,
they're
yeah.
bringing in a lot more like ex-pro players and see like because now
Hmm.
Weekend's a commentator for Envy because he
Yeah.
stepped down, and that kind of
It was
became
I was gonna say, was that Weekend or was that Allied? Pretty sure that
Allied
was Allied.
retired. Allied retired. Weekend just stepped down, got kicked.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So that was actually interesting because like they have pro players to talk to now and see what balances they can
Hmm.
change. Which I'm definitely for. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
after that, achievements. I don't give a shit about achievements. When they pop up, they're like, oh, okay, cool, I got it. Whatever.
The miscellaneous. The only thing that affects me since I like play an obscene amount of 1v1s is the Joust Tiger monsters locking up and failing to animate at the red buff every
Oh
once in
yeah,
a
I've seen
while.
that. It's weird. They just T
It's
pose
it,
there.
it's yeah, it's derpy.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right,
Cool.
so on to the item changes. Everybody wants to talk about item changes.
Yeah. They
So
put
go
them in
ahead. You
alphabetical order. Apparently, Hindu man wanted to put it in a Kappa order, but whatever.
I would say go ahead and start with the throwing dagger. I've got a somewhat of a longish rant about sovereignty.
Yeah. So well, there's nothing really minor for the B category. Literally, it just fixes so it doesn't show up under MP5 anymore, which is right. It just gives you base mana. Bulwark of Hope, buff icon for the shield. Not exactly sure. Maybe they just changed the icon. And then I guess should we start with Sovereignty and Throwing Dagger?
Yeah, we'll start with sovereignty.
All right.
Sovereignty sovereignty fell off quite a bit. You know, when the wholesale nerfs came to season 3, that whole tree got completely decimated. I mean, even Nemean Lion moved to a whole tree by itself. But the Iron Mail tree basically got its physical protections dropped in half. Pretty much all of the the sovereignty, the mystical mail, and the Midgardian mail all feature 30 physical protections, which is like half of what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things about like mystical mail was probably one of the biggest prime example of what happened to this tree. You know, mystical mail got its protections cut in half, and now nobody builds it because it's still the same price that it was.
Yep.
But anyway, getting back to sovereignty. I like that they're buffing the aura because literally the support build would be the same as the solo warrior build.
Mm-hmm.
So there was less reliance on the aura items and more reliance on the selfish tanky items like the
Yep.
breastplate and the bulwark just to kind of get the point across. So I think this
Yep.
will start to bring it back. I mean, you're talking about adding 30 physical protections and an
To the
aura
entire
to the
game.
rest of your team. Yeah, like that's pretty big.
I
I mean, 20 not so much, but
yeah.
adding an additional 30, like that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty big. It actually brings the sovereignty back into the meta now. People will
Yeah.
still like rush Breastplate of Valor, but I mean, people will do
Or
what they.
Wingblade.
Yeah, Wingblade. I've seen a lot of supports pick up Wingblade. They skip
Yeah,
boots
but
entirely and go into Wingblade now.
yeah, they'll do tier 1 boots. Well, just because they get the movement speed from the Wingblade, and then they'll
Yeah.
start itemizing after that, which is fine because that means that they just want to focus on more setup for the rest of their team.
Very
It
like
just
late
like
nights.
everything. Yeah,
Go ahead.
everything is literally um, very situational now in season 3, and I think that's one of the things that I find very intriguing. There's no longer like a set cookie cutter build for every
Mhm.
role in the game,
Yeah, I love it.
and yeah, that's something that I think they've gotten right in season 3 so far.
That actually makes jungle fun again, because like if I
It
want to go,
does.
it's still decently the same build, but at the same time, it's something it gives you room to change stuff up. Because I know as like a situational for me for Fenrir, is if I want early damage, I'd rush Jotuns early on, and if I want more survivability and more team fight presence, then I'd go for Breastplate of Valor. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually, you'd have to buy both of them either way. But like
Because
the last two,
yeah.
yeah, because the last two items, the last two items are like very situational, like very like
Mm-hmm.
varying differences in what playstyle you want. Like
I
after,
feel like with every assassin, you definitely want to opt for full CDR or at least some form of it, like because they're gonna give you some sort of physical presence on the other team. So I mean, you're gonna end up getting Breastplate of Valor and Jotuns to fill out your CDR
yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
And some of those gods with like the low ultimates, like the ChinxZhao ultimate is 50 seconds
Yeah,
with full CDR. That's silly.
Fenrir ults like around the same time, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like boots into like Jotuns or Breastplate of Valor. Those are your second and third items, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
usually Bulwark of Hope. Like most assassins always get Bulwark of Hope. It's just too good of an item to not have as of right now. But like at the same point, at the same time, if you do have Bulwark of Hope, and the other team does have a lot of damage, that Bulwark does that shield does go away really quickly.
It does.
Yeah, so it's not as OP as people thinking it was. It is, which is what.
Dude, when the shield was around for forever, then it was when it was broken. Yeah, then it was OP.
Yeah, now it's like
I remember that.
It's like 30 seconds and then it goes away or something like that. And that's completely fine. That's why they're not like tweaking Bulwark at all at this patch because that makes sense.
It feels like that
Yeah,
balanced Bulwark. I think once
yeah,
they finally found that nice middle ground, I think Bulwark is right exactly where it needs to be. Still a very strong item for the right price.
yeah. It's still a really good item. It's just it's at the tier of like Breastplate of Valor now, where it's a must, but it doesn't save you all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's amazing now. And then like the next two items like vary, but you know enough about talking about those. We have to go back to sovereignty now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm thinking what made sovereignty really strong for me. What I thought it was really overpowered was is because of how much protection to give you and your teammates for how little it did cost.
Yeah,
I feel like they did a little bit too much to it after they nerfed it though.
I agree.
Because yeah, sovereignty is a good item. It should be a good item. It should be on the tier of breastplate of valor and bulwark. But at the same point, it shouldn't be like the cheapest item, one of the cheapest items in the game.
Yeah. Well, and I see with the increase to the physical protections aura that you might see an adjustment to that price. I mean, for 2100, I get 200 health, 30 physical protections, and then I also get the OP aura of an additional 30 physical protections
Yeah,
and 25 HP 5. Yeah, that's
yeah,
gonna be
exactly.
silly. I would
Especially
like.
go
I
for
would
it.
like to see an adjustment to this particular tree. I'd like to see Sovereignty's price go up to about like 2,300. I think that would be
Yeah, that
probably
seems
about
good.
the right price for it. I'd like Mystical Mail to come down to about 2,500. I feel, and
Mm-hmm.
then Midgard. Actually, I think Midgardian's probably right where it needs to be. I think.
Mid Guardian, yeah, it's perfect. It's a good moderately cheap, I'd say. Cheap
Yeah.
defensive item that gives you a really good passive.
Yeah, because I was just having this conversation with a fellow tank friend of mine last night. We were talking about what needs to happen for Mystical Mail not or to become a little bit more relevant again. And I told him like you drop the gold price, and I think people will start to pick it up again
Yeah, Mystical
because
Mail
there's more
is.
people that are relying on less on health and more on protections. So you'll see a lot more people opt for a breastplate of valor, or they'll
Yeah,
opt for even a Nemean, or there's even some cases where spectral armor is appropriate.
yeah,
Dude, spectral armor counters the ever living crap out of Fenrir. Oh my god, it's so good.
yeah. I've seen that item, and I'm surprised that nobody actually uses it against Fender as
Dude,
much. It should.
everything on that tree is really strong. But
Yeah,
all right, so to the throwing dagger.
yeah. Throwing
The
dagger.
throwing dagger.
It's got new passive. All basic attacks will not hit enemies within a 15 unit radius. Pretty sure that was the same.
Mm-hmm.
And target for 25% of the. Wait, what was this? Unit radius of the target for 25% of the damage to the gods and 50% damage to me. Now this, yeah,
Gonna greatly increase clear potential.
this,
I feel like this is a targeted buff to Mercury because
this
they want
brings
Mercury
back
to come
Mercury.
back into the meta a little bit.
I mean, Mercury is fine. You know, like people were like saying, "Oh, this is gonna make Mercury like extremely OP again." Not really, cause
It might speed up his clear in like the early game, but that's
yeah,
literally about it.
and he doesn't get health or mana back when he's in the jungle. It doesn't help him at all.
Exactly.
It doesn't do as much. I mean, if solo Mercury might be come back because of this.
Possible.
Yeah, solo
That
Mercury was
and
fine.
there's been some applications of like Artemis
Hmm.
might decide to go out there and rush Golden Bow just to really help her early clear. This I think might actually try to. I don't see this happening, but there's always a possibility that
They're
Artemis comes back
trying to
into the
bring
meta a
back
little bit.
Golden Bow. It's just I feel like as Mercury, you still get Golden Bow's second item.
I agree. It's Bumba's Mask, Warrior Tabai, followed by Golden Bow.
Yeah,
I
and
have
if you
my
don't,
order correctly.
and even if that isn't, and even if you can't afford Golden Bow, throwing dagger is still a good item. And then the little shuriken, I think, gives a good amount of crit for the price. It's decent.
Yeah, exactly. I think Golden Bow is exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So like with a little bit of buffing to it, will just I mean, it's just gonna help. If anything, you'll see. I think you'll see a little bit more application of the Golden Bow on other gods, like in a 1v1 kind of setup.
Mhm.
Um, but specifically when it comes to conquest, I think it's literally just going to be for Mercury.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
Artemis, but mostly Mercury.
I feel like a lot of the crit characters though, like maybe a Wheelix, just because of her
Possible.
attack speed buff, might help her clear out even more. But other than that, I don't like. Maybe Kali, but Kali's already got a set build. I feel as
Yeah.
if so there really is no point in like putting that crit on her because she literally just shreds through people anyways.
I once built all movement speed items on Mercury. Oh my god, it was so much fun. It
Hmm.
was. I'm trying to remember the exact build, but it
I
was
don't.
everything off of the katana tree,
Uh-huh.
Golden Bow, Fatalis, and boots.
Yeah,
Oh my god, it was so much fun.
I don't think there's too much of a movement speed cap. It's like 450. 450, I
Yeah.
think.
Something.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's bigger than that because I think I got Mercury's highest movement speed up to like 570. I think with all the movement
Yeah.
speed items.
Well, then there
I
might not
wonder
be
if there
a
is a cap somewhere.
there might not be a cap for it just because there's not enough items to get to the cap, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess no one in their right mind in competitive play would build complete full movement speed,
Oh,
but
oh, of course.
yeah.
It's literally just for casual fun,
Yeah.
I suppose. And
But
then Wind Demon.
uh
Sorry, go ahead.
here's the thing. It goes to Golden Bow, and it's just basically 25% more on both, right?
Yeah.
But I feel as if once you get Throwing Dagger, you can hold off on Golden Bow and then just continue with your build, and then come back to Golden Bow later on. Because
It's possible.
yeah,
I guess it really just depends on if you need the extra 5% movement speed.
mhm.
If you kind of determine that early on. Again, which is one of the cool situational things that Season 3 has kind of inspired.
Like 50%, 25% damage to enemy gods, and 50% is already pretty big.
Yeah.
And well, like 25% to most gods now, even though even as though they're tanky. To like
That's still it's gonna eat away at them
yeah,
pretty good.
even like towards squishy targets, mid laners, and a lot of
Back
things.
when
A lot of
back when
things
old
can
throwing
happen.
dagger was broken and literally hunters were buying it so that anytime they'd hit the creeps, the procs would literally bounce between the creeps, and if the enemy hunter ever stood next to the creeps, like they'd be hit by all these little procs.
Oh yeah.
It would end up killing them. Oh,
This
that was
now
crazy.
that I think about it, I think Mercury ADC might come back too.
I'd like to see it. I thought Mercury ADC definitely had some potential.
You really had to play
I definitely
safe.
see Mercury.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see Mercury like. Here would be a build I would see for Mercury. You'd start throwing dagger.
Mhm.
You'd finish Golden Bow, go into boots. You'd go into some form of lifesteal after that. Maybe Devourer's Gauntlets,
Yeah.
and then and then you feature crit, and then pen, and then crit, and in no specific order. I feel.
Or instead of this like the budget version of Devourers, you can just go into Aussie, which
Yeah,
gives you
Austin's
attack
not
speed.
bad either.
Yeah, it gives you attack speed as well, so it doesn't matter. I feel like most people would end up going both either way, just because
Yeah.
it's Merc. Now Wind Demon.
Yeah, Merc
Oh,
without
but-
lifesteal is kind of It is kind of janky. I'm not gonna
Yeah, he
lie.
kind of isn't a boxer at that point.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to Wind Demon, I guess. Fixed Wind Demon preventing all healing.
Yeah, that was an exploit that I was using in my Mercury builds in my 1v1 matches.
Now
Ugh.
this is a huge nerf.
Yeah.
This is a huge nerf. This is just like people would be going this instead of Brawler's Beatstick.
Oh yeah.
And,
Well, Wind Demon was never intended to be
yeah.
that way.
Hey, Wind Demon
But
never
you know,
was
it's
to be.
just fixing a mistake, I
It's
guess.
just like, I guess, yeah, it's something that they maybe like a high-res employee accidentally put like one too many zeros when they typed it in.
Hey man, I'm currently going to school for coding. Like I
Yeah.
understand how precise you have to be with
Yeah,
that
exactly.
stuff. So like I feel for him.
One too many zeros, and then it's like instead of saying
Exactly.
10%, it's 100%. It's just like, okay, that's all right then. That's
Exactly. All right. So
as if
the
healing
god
was
changes.
as if healing was still a thing in this meta, though.
Exactly. The god changes. Mr. Amuzen Cobb.
Now this,
Very interesting.
I saw this change and I thought to myself, does this put him back into the meta? Not really.
It's possible.
Not as much as he used to be. He might have moved
think
up
it-
from the D rank to the C rank now. He might be
I
like.
think it changes how you level him. Honestly, like there were some people that were favoring the honey early, just so they could get the slow percentage up. Now with the slow percentage, literally 20% at all ranks, you can max your swarm first and get more damage off of that because that scales better.
And you can max
But,
your
you know-
hives now.
Yeah, exactly. But Nonton's pretty famous ADC player who went on a rant about AMC. He would always max the honey first, no matter what sort of damage or what sort of slow potential you would get from the honey, because that would help him win all the boxing wars.
Yeah.
And even when the honey slow scaled a little bit, that was even better because that allowed AMC to at least have some mobility. You just spray somebody with honey as you're trying to run away.
Yeah.
Easy.
But now it's like 20% all ranks. You just leave it at level 1. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. You can do swarm first, or you can do hives first. I've seen hives first, and I've seen like AMC's just spread with hives first. It's
Hives first is definitely still good, because if you max your hives, I believe you get more HP 5 back. I do.
You get more healing, more movement speed, and more attack speed. That scales from movement speed from 10% all the way up to 30%, and attack speed goes from 10% all the way up to 50%.
Yeah, like so most
Crazy.
most Amuzen Ka players are usually good at landing their auto attacks. I'd assume, because that's what they're that's why they would max their hives.
I mean, that's his strength. I mean, one of the things that he does really well is he has a very, very strong wave clear.
Yeah, there's a very strong boxing presence too, but
that too.
When it comes to team fights, he's rather
the
meh.
mobility. You have to plan your hive network a little bit, and being that you can only have 6 hives, you have to position yourself accordingly.
Yep.
That or get sprint. One of the two. Now Artemis. Oh, another one of these older hunters that they've definitely come full circle, almost full circle on. I feel it's a slight change, but I feel like it will do. I feel like it will do really good. Instead of favoring 2 attack speed items, now I can see a lot of Artemis going for 1 attack speed item, 1 penetration item, and just crit after that, because that's literally all you need with Vengeful Assault.
Yep.
At every rank, it goes up 5%.
Yeah, or now it goes up 10% every rank.
Is it 10%? No.
Yeah.
5%, I thought.
It was 5%.
35 to 40, yeah. Oh, okay.
Now it's 40 to 50 to 50 to 60 to 60 to 70 to 70 to 80.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say when you get to 80%, you're swinging at that point.
Like at this point, you might as well just start maxing your 2 instead of your 3.
Well, I mean, your 3 is really good for like poke and I was gonna say suppress the insolence, I believe is the name of that ability. Like that has some crazy range, and you almost don't even expect it half the time. Has a good slow duration to it. I still think everybody's gonna max their 3 first, but this change to suppress the insolence is gonna make her Vengeful Assault.
Yeah,
trying to cast. I gotta get these ability names right.
Yeah. These
this change will be really good for her, I think.
This actually just makes her combo even deadlier because 3-2. She can literally just chase you down with 3-2.
And it looks like they're gonna still make some more adjustments to her in later patches. So
Yeah.
this is just the start. So
Yeah. And then Tusky into trap into chasing you down with her vengeful assault as well. It's just too much.
yeah,
I've always hated Artemis because of that. You just like if you get caught,
dude.
you're basically
Yeah,
dead.
dude.
And
If you give Artemis first blood in any sort of game mode, you're just like you might as well hit the F6 button at that point because she just snowballs so hard
yeah,
with it. She really does.
it's like I really hate that, but like at the same time, she doesn't have an escape.
That's true.
But at the same time, there are some people who like don't recognize that and are complete idiots and fail and neglect her until late game. Where like, oh, whoa, who fed the Artemis? Oh, you kind of let her free farm, so
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, to be fair, there's been a big discussion about, Artemis with her lack of mobility.
mhm.
If you are able to carefully string together your abilities, you can get away from anybody.
Yeah, there's literally nothing they
Properly
can do.
placed traps are really important.
Yeah.
Your suppress the insolence has a slow on it. I mean, your Tusky can even stun people, so you can
Yep.
keep people away. And not to mention, a vengeful assault gives you a 20% movement
Mhm.
speed increase, as well as the attack speed buff that you're going to get from
Do
that.
you
So, like,
believe Tusky does 300 base damage when he hits you
it
at
goes from
max rank?
150. Oh no, that's 450 base damage.
Okay, 450 at max rank, and then there's like 5% of your physical power or something.
100% of your physical
Oh,
power. I'm looking at
100%.
it right now.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful
Yeah.
because
I mean, Artemis needed a little bit of love.
yeah,
I'd like to see some pro players, bring her back out little by little, kind of see what happens with that.
because if you just sit
See
on
if there's
Artemis,
anything to it.
if you sit on Artemis, you deny her late game, she's easily
hmm
dealt with. But if you don't,
Well, I'm
she's rather decently hard to deal with late game.
as a jungle main, ChinxZhao, if you know you're gonna fight an Artemis hunter, do you tend to gravitate towards that side a little bit more, just because like you have the
Yeah,
potential to pick her off?
because it's a
I
secure kill.
figured you
Because
would.
she has like no escapes or anything. Her only thing is her speed, and then her speed can be cut off with like a multiple stuns, which are obnoxiously abundant in this game. Pyres,
Exactly.
please, next god that gets released, let's just test it out. Let's test it out that he has no CC. All right, let's see how strong
Dude,
she still will be. Because
everybody knows Hi-Rez loves gods with CC.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
like not every
this is
god has
apparent.
to have a CC. There are like some gods that I
Uh,
don't understand why they have CC.
I know, right?
It's
So
like
kind of moving through a little bit. Bastet
uh,
gets a little bit of a
this
change.
was hilarious.
Yeah, because apparently it was dealing magical damage, and I had no
This was
idea.
hilarious because I would never max my 3. Because like I found this out early on when Bastet was still in the meta. Like I'd jump on them. I'd just leave my declaw at like rank 1. Because
Yeah,
for whatever reason,
exactly.
I saw it. I was like, oh, this is still doing tons of fucking damage. All right,
hmm
and I just use it as a setup ability for my bleed.
Yeah, well, Pounce. To be honest, Pounce and Razor Whip have always been
Yeah,
the two abilities that you should
yeah.
max. I mean, Razor Whip assuming you're at level 9, you have maxed out Razor Whip. It's
hmm
105 damage per tick plus 25% of your physical power for 4 seconds.
Yeah. And it's like
That's pretty absurd.
I think it's like a tick every half second or
I
something.
believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So that's massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, and then Pounce, like you're guaranteed at max rank to do 340 damage plus 100% of your physical power. Like
Yeah.
I oftentimes would not put any points into my cats until I have Pounce and Razor Whip maxed. My cats would literally set me up for success if I could just put the rest of the damage out there. That's best stat in
Yeah.
a nutshell for me.
Yeah, but I mean, like, because I didn't realize this because, like, thinking back now, back to the days when Bastet was in the meta, and I seen it was rather weird because people would be building physical defense as they should against Bastet,
Oh yeah,
and for whatever reason, Declaw just I would
would shred through that.
yeah,
It's
I would
kind of
just
absurd.
shred through that even at max rank. This is like a fixed rank 1 ability where it was dealing magical damage.
Well, I mean, you're
I
talking
feel
about
like at
70 damage right off the bat
yeah,
with a 30% slow. I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them change the slow just a little bit.
yeah,
Like
that slow
maybe
is a
have
little
like
too
a
much.
30% at the first rank
Again,
is pretty strong.
Bastet has so much fucking CC in her kit.
Hmm.
The
Even if
cats
it's just
apply
soft CC.
slow every second.
Yeah, the cats have a 20% slow. I'd like to see the slow go from maybe like 15% all the way up to 25%,
Uh,
like all the way up through the levels. I think. I
yeah,
think that would be.
25%.
I think it'd be better.
That'd make her really strong early game, but when late game, when they have Wing Blade, a sprint, stuff like that to counter it, she's kind of really not really relevant anymore, and she's more of a split pusher, which I fucking hate in this game.
Yeah, Bastet, Loki are the
Yeah,
split
there's
push
still no
king and queen
counter.
of the game.
There's still no fucking counter to invisibility. Mystic Mail was it, and now Mystic Mail has been deleted from the game for whatever
It's
fucking.
a very interesting concept that a lot of warriors can try if they're fighting a Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Is somewhere along the way figure in where a Witchblade would go, because Witchblade you can still see Loki
Yeah.
if he tries to get close to you with the
Yeah.
Witchblade aura. So I mean, I feel like when Mystical Mail went down, people forgot about Witchblade
Mm-hmm.
when it came to fighting Loki. So
Yeah.
I mean, that could work.
So now moving on from Bastet to Chuck. Fixed an issue where teleportation would be cancelled, could be cancelled early. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by this. Maybe you can
Yeah,
shed
I
some
haven't
light.
seen it, blood. I actually haven't seen it, but I could kind of see like where like if there was a lot going on around him, if there's like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of abilities being fired, maybe some of the coding got a
Yeah.
little bit messed up on that.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a quality change
Yeah.
it's a quality fix, I should say,
There's
for
nothing.
Chalk.
I
I
feel
mean, I
like
think
that
that's
that
pretty
would be
much
fine.
that.
I feel like that'd be really dumb. Though that at the same time would kind of be game breaking as well. If you could cancel your teleportation early, because it.
So a very interesting philosophy. God, if I can cut in real quick, a
Uh.
very interesting philosophy came up with Chalk, like how you would kind of make him a little bit more lethal, and it would be talking about like adding a little bit of actual CC to his kit as opposed to just having the silence on his storm call.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was talk of at one point in time if he used torrent and he teleported to an axe, and if somebody was in the range of the torrent damage, they were stunned. Just a short stun, not like a super long stun, maybe a second, kind of like a Kali, like um,
Yeah. That
a 3 stun basically. That might actually kind of improve his
I've
quality a
seen a
little
lot
bit.
of like I guess Chaka's return to the competitive scene. I guess a little bit to the pro scene. I guess he was played in a couple games. I think. But for the most part, I think Chalk is still kind of weak compared to the other
Yeah,
solo laners. He
I
still
would
does.
say he's probably near the bottom of the list
Yeah,
with
it's
the
like
Warriors right now. Near the bottom.
mhm. It's like all right, you have a choice of Tyr, Bologna, Odin, Vamana, Guan, even Sun Wukong now.
You
It's
can
just
even figure in Hercules
yeah,
too,
you
like
can
with the
fig.
minor buffs that he
You
got.
can definitely figure in Hercules. It's just like there are too many choices ahead of Chalk. Chalk doesn't do as much as some of these other guys. I think like as of right now, the King of Queens of the Soul Lane is like Tyr and Bologna.
Absolutely.
They're like
'Cause
the most top picked solo lane gods, and that's the only reason they're really good in that position. They do their job and they do it well.
yeah, because when Tyr's played well, like it's actually a thing of beauty.
Hmm.
Talking about Wolfie, for example, Wolfie being one of the best tiers like I've ever
On the
seen.
planet.
Yeah, like on the planet. Like he says, he's played so much tier, it's literally muscle memory.
Yeah,
And
and
like I can appreciate good tier play.
I've almost gotten to that point, but then again, like every so often, I can still learn from Wolfie just because like I feel like he's learned basically everything there is to do with here,
Yeah.
or
All right.
but then damn near close. Moving on from
So we got
Chalk, which is still he's bottom of the barrel on its
yeah.
consensus. We move on to Chiron, which I love this nerf.
I do. I think this was perfect because
Yeah,
when you activated Centaurus and you were moving around as Chiron, you moved at basically the same movement speed you did as you normally would.
yeah,
I feel like this is really, really strong because literally somebody could activate Centaurus, be completely CC immune, and still be able to run away from you.
yeah,
That
and
was
get
a
a kill in the
little too much.
process.
Exactly.
I still feel like Centaurus does a little bit too much damage, especially since it
Um,
applies that auto-targeting arrow after you.
yeah. Let me.
Like,
All right. So I'm pulling up Centaurus right now. Damage per shot. It scales from 100 all the way up to 280 at max rank, with 60% of your physical power.
yeah, that can
Um,
rip through a mage at late game.
yeah. I oftentimes would use Centaurus for just applying the shot, so I could immediately use my 2 masterful shot
Yeah,
after it. It definitely could be a somewhat of a combo,
and
but
like
I
if
like this. It'll bring Chiron into a little bit more balance. I think
he's still top
I
tier.
think he'll start to come down. Yeah, but I think you'll start to see Ho Yi,
Yeah,
maybe
I
Neith get a
mean,
little bit stronger,
Ho Yi's already
something like
been a
that.
pretty good pick. Has been a pretty strong pick. He's always been a good pick. He's always been up there, ever since like they changed him a little bit, and now he's in like he went from
Dude, I remember
ho trash to ho Jesus.
I remember when his ricochet had like a 1 second casting time
Yeah,
on
that
it.
was
Like that was
retarded.
awful. Yeah, it was awful.
He was made him the worst 80s, and then his little three where it was a move instead. It was like and
Dude,
he
the
could be stunned out of it,
quality. Yeah,
and he could
those
be
were quality changes that needed to
he
happen
can
in
be
Pro
stunned out
E.
of it, and then there was a glitch with
Mhm.
it where when he was stunned out of it, he's immune to damage.
Yeah, that was silly.
It's just like what the fuck is that? Well, you
I
released
was
a
gonna
janky
say,
god.
yeah.
Now they
And
fixed them.
there's really not much more that you can say about Chiron with this. I think this brings Chiron probably as close to uh, within balance as I think you
I
can
feel
get.
like Chiron was the #1 pick before, even after the nerf to his healing. But now I feel like Hoyu has taken over the #1 spot.
I feel that way as well. Okay, maybe number one in NA,
Yeah,
but because I mean a
EU has
lot of
some
times,
crazy people with
yeah,
Chiron. I don't even want to try it.
Dude, Epsilon was talking about, or not Epsilon. What is it? Panthera
I
now.
think they're Panthera now.
Um, yeah, dude, Yaman would talking about would bring in
Uh-huh.
like Chiron mid, Medusa mid,
Yeah,
stuff
I
like that.
see
That just
those
goes to show you how
guys. Those guys
crazy
in
the
mid
auto.
laner,
And he
like
hits auto. He hits autos better than most hunters
they're pulling off an Eager. What Eager did a couple or last season, where they brought
Yeah,
Neath in the mid lane, and
and then C9 tried to do that.
yeah, and then they nerfed Neath. Or I don't think they nerfed Neath actually. I think that
Nah,
people just figure out how to do it, how to go play around it.
exactly.
This is just standard. Like they're trying to fix the meta. They're trying to make their own meta. They're trying to break the meta. I like it. You know,
That's what pro players should be doing.
yeah, that's what
Now,
teams should be doing.
speaking of mid lane, our
Yes,
next guy.
I love this change. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me go on a rant. Hi-Rez was looking at them. It was like, huh, who's the most dominant god in the mid lane right now? Well, it would be Raijin. Wrong. It's fucking Isis. They looked at Isis. Isis's kit is so strong right now. It's rather mind-boggling how strong it is. Hi-Rez must have looked at Isis's kit, and they must have looked at the Middle East, and they're just like, you know what? Let's nerf Isis because what they're doing in the Middle East right now is extremely dumb. It like is wrecking people's lives. And what ISIS is doing to mid laners right now, mid lane gods, is exactly what ISIS is doing in the Middle East. So they're just going to, you know, they're going to nerf ISIS in the mid lane. So sending a message to, Goat Fuckers International that they can go fuck themselves. But yeah. But
No,
yeah.
but let's not forget.
Yeah, but seriously though.
No, this is where it started with nerf to Isis 3. Do you remember how potent that slow was on her 3
Oh,
at rank 1?
Yeah, that's
It
really
went
well.
from 35% down to 20. Like
Yeah.
that's probably where that should stay.
That should
Now,
stay.
I love this nerf specifically for one reason, because all Isises will max wind gust first to wave clear. And I think this was exactly what this was for. Because with the meta, my understanding of Season 3 meta is early game pressure, and more early game pressure. And what better than a god that can clear the lane at, level 6?
1.
Well, I'm saying like she gets to about level, well, I would say probably level 6, and I think her 3 points into her wind gust will actually help clear it. So I like that the scaling went down a little bit.
Yeah, the scaling
So I'm looking at the damage numbers right now. It goes from 35 per gust all the way up to 115 plus 40% of your magical power right now. So that'll drop. quite a bit.
Yeah, Wing Gust has always been a really strong ability. I always thought so, but I always thought Spirit Ball was much better though, because
Well,
like,
Spear Ball was a good harassment tool. Like
yeah,
you could back off any mid lane mage from even coming up and thinking about touching the creeps before they got under the tower with a well placed Spirit Ball, because a Spirit Ball early stunned them for 1 second, and that was long enough for you to land several basic attacks, which with Isis's basic attack chain, you get the first two and you get the third one that'll do additional damage at
yeah.
that point.
And also, I feel like this, like people are less likely to go purple blood Isis now at the start, just because her Wing Gust clear isn't as strong as it used to be. They might still go there just because of her AOE auto attacks, but I mean, it's not as
Ice,
potent as before, where she can literally just hit level 2 in like 10 seconds in the game with red buff and
yeah.
kill you in like 2 seconds.
I still see Isis is going red pot, maybe even a little bit more now that the scaling
Purple.
on the Wingust has gone down a little bit. Red pot,
Yeah,
purple pot, same difference.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
but because they need it, because
Hmm.
of the scaling is going to go down on Wingust a little bit. So I see them still kind of playing around with the purple pot start. But that might change.
There's,
You might go
yeah,
directly into Lost Artifact. You
yeah.
might go Vamp Shroud Lost Artifact after
There's
that and
definitely a
rush your
way,
Doom Orb.
different way to play her now, because it's not always, oh, if you play Isis you always go purple blood. No, you can go into like
Hmm.
Lost Artifact now, and you probably still get the same amount of clear.
Doom Orb Isis though is frightening.
Yeah.
Those Spirit Balls at max range. Oof.
Hmm.
But yeah, Isis will be Isis. I'll figure it like this. She's really good early.
Hmm.
She kind of starts to even out a little bit mid game, and then late game, I don't know. She kind of flatlines for me a little bit. Like
Late
she's with the
game,
low mobility.
if she's
With the low
ahead, she's really
mobility,
good.
she's kind of like,
Yeah.
But she
Her
has to
ult,
stay ahead. That's the
she's
thing.
got a really good objective secure ult.
I agree. Like the Circle of Protection is literally one of the strongest objective steals. Maybe outside of searing pain, the raw beam or
Yeah.
the Circle of the Nine Winds,
Hmm.
things like that. I mean, those are just really really strong.
Yeah.
I see this bringing ISIS a little bit more down, but I see them probably still making one more change to her, maybe reducing the scaling of that Spirit Ball maybe a
Hmm.
little bit. I see because the scaling is 70% of your magical power on Spirit Balls right now. I see that
Hmm.
probably coming down to about 60, maybe even 55.
Hmm.
55 might be a little bit much, but I think 60 is probably a little bit better for her.
Okay, hold on. 1 second. Let's see. All right, cool. So yeah, that's what I feel like ISIS is going to like step down from the top tier. One of the top tier, like rank 1 mid laner. Maybe Raijin will take over that spot real quick.
Because if you're thinking about, hold
Yeah,
on real
let's
quick, one
pause it
last
real
point here.
quick. Let's pause it real quick. I gotta rush to the restroom real quick.
No worries.
Yep. Alright, sorry about that. Probably had something that I think I had something that my stomach didn't really quite agree with.
Ah, that's no good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jinx,
Huh?
can you answer one question for me real quick?
Yeah.
Look in the general chat
I'm looking at it right now.
and say yes or no.
Do not think no.
It's on the top of the hill near Figs' house.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's not mine.
You didn't build a house in the new server? Okay.
No, not yet.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Alright,
That's
so
it.
yeah, cool. Alright, see you later. Alright, so sorry about that. Let's see, where were we on?
So we're on to Mr. Capri, the big love bug.
Oh yeah.
Good. Probably one of the. I would still classify him as probably top 3 or top 4 supports right now. Still
I feel like
really, really good.
Yeah, with this change, I guess he's
well, okay.
He's still pretty good. It's just the thing
Yeah.
is that he loses his aggressiveness early game, which I don't think people were really aggressive with Kepri in the first place in the early game.
No, I mean, well, I mean, everything was like super situational with that. Like, I mean, if you were fighting, if you had an enemy support of like an Ares or a Ymir, like, good luck. That's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
being aggressive with Kepri against that was like being aggressive with a Sobek against a Geb. Like, fleeing shield, Sobek's dead, pretty much.
Yeah, basically.
That's pretty much how that would work.
There's no point.
The reduction to his health. I mean, while it is pretty substantial. I mean, let's not forget his
50
shield
health.
every 5 seconds. Yeah. Every 5 seconds, you get 2% of a target's max health for 15 seconds.
This actually makes him killable early game. This makes him like when your target as Kali is Kepri, you're not like, oh well, I'm not gonna be able to kill that target anymore. Well,
Yeah.
You can actually kill the target now, as like a jungler. If it's like a Kepri Neath lane, before this patch, it'd just be like, all right, well Neath got away. We really can't kill a Kepri because we don't have the damage or the penetration for that yet. But
well, I think with the change to sovereignty specifically, like I think you'll see Kepri's like opt for defense early as opposed to going for the wing blade early.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe they'll set the wing blade back to like 4th item while they pick up a breastplate or something of that nature.
Yeah, but still, like if it's an early gank again, going on the Kepri, if the ADC gets out, going on the Kepri isn't a bad alternative anymore. You know, you can actually kill the thing.
Yeah, I mean, Kepri has like the largest hitbox in the game, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to bob.
He's a giant fucking scarab.
I just remember I remember release Kepri when the damage on his Rising Dawn, his 2 capped out at like 50 per tick. And you could actually play solo lane with him. Like Kepri solo back when he was like release Kepri could like body any sort of melee character.
Yeah. It's hilarious, and it gives him defense too. It gives his minions defense, damage reduction, I should say.
With all the changes that have happened to Scarab's Blessing, like they removed the power, they removed some other things. They've nerfed the revive health. They've nerfed the movement speed on it as well. I don't know.
It was all needed.
We're done with. Yeah, I know it's very needed. I don't think we're done seeing changes to Kepri yet. I don't.
Yeah.
I see maybe the abduct damage, his dash coming down a little bit, like 'cause that's really potent for Guardian.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on, Poseidon, little small bug fix nature where you could pull fire elementals out of the fire giant pit. That actually
I had no idea that could happen.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was. I think I did it once, and I didn't think it was a bug or anything. I thought it was just like
it was normal.
Yeah, I thought it was something that like, oh, if a ranged character hits him and he goes out of the pit, they can drag him out of the pit until like a certain distance, and then they reset. And I was like, that makes sense, you know, that doesn't matter. But like, apparently now you have to be in the pit. This is actually kind of a little bit of a nerf, to be honest, because Poseidon can't secure that tiny little bit of EXP or gold anymore.
Yeah, it slows down his clear a little bit. Poseidon was always Poseidon was never really super strong as long as Isis was, top dog in the mid lane.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about the changes to Isis, I see Janus getting back to his #1 spot with this change to Isis.
Oh,
I
Poseidon
do.
is probably going to be number 2, fighting for number 2 now with Isis.
I think so. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Poseidon gets just completely crushed by Isis, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close.
But at least at this point, with Wind Gust like not doing as much damage, or the scaling is not as much as like some of Poseidon's fucking abilities, where the scaling is ridiculous.
That's true.
Yeah. And also, like the enemy team, you'll see like, oh, there's a Poseidon on the team. Oh, well, I should probably go Aegis in mid laner. Like that's a really big hit to them, as well as it might give them survivability against the Kraken, but the Poseidon wouldn't Kraken them. It gives them less immunity. It won't give them CC immunity. That's what I like about it.
Well, Sanctuary by itself is still a really, really strong relic. Sanctuary Season 3 Aegis. Same damn difference. But and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just always been my playstyle. But ever since Purification Beads have such a long cooldown, my first option a lot of times on squishy targets, oftentimes opted for Sanctuary, because in those 2 seconds I can move and I can get out.
Yeah.
Even on a god that doesn't have any movement abilities, if I'm alive for 2 seconds, then I have a chance to get out.
Yeah, a lot of mages end up going Purification and Sanctuary.
I will pick Sanctuary first a lot of times.
Yeah, that I understand. Now let's see. I guess that's pretty much up on Isis or Poseidon, I should say. Now, Serket changes. This, came out of the blue, because the other night I was just randomly playing. I was just playing ranked, I was just playing, and then I just, had this sudden urge, I want to play Serket. So I did. And Serket is actually still surprisingly good. A lot of people are like, oh, she's falling out of the meta, or she's not as great as she used to be. Yeah, but she's still pretty good, despite, all the nerfs to her. Her Cobra's Kiss still does, still pretty good, and sets up a lot of her abilities still well. And if you play Serket correctly, you can dominate with her, and it's rather easy. Yeah. But
Serket's probably my lowest played assassin. I've probably have maybe twice as many games with the next played assassin than I do Serket. I literally played Serket enough to master her, and then try to kind of get her under my fingertips a little bit. Funny enough, really quick story. I was playing Serket, trying to get a little bit of get a better feel for her. Or it was early in season 2. It was a PTS. And I happened to run across Allied and ACPR, and Allied was playing the enemy Serket. Oh my god, I got my stuff smashed in.
Exactly,
but it was a fun game because Allied and I would chase each other around the map while our teams were busy fighting.
Yeah, Serket has a very high skill cap. That's the thing. A lot of gods now don't really have a very high skill cap or a high ceiling to understand. Thor is very one-dimensional. You dunk on him, you throw a hammer, you stun him, you spin, you kill him. Very barbaric. Thanatos, you throw scythe, you silence, you chase them, you execute them. And then who else? Loki, I go invisible, stab you once, you dead. Bye. And
Bakasura, I press 4 and then you die.
Hold W and left click.
As I eat you.
Yeah, hold W and left click.
Serket was always something interesting to me because she was one of those gods that when you're watching really good Serket play,
it's amazing.
It's almost like an art. It's like watching beautiful art being made in front of you.
It's like watching Bob Ross.
Yes, exactly. Shout out to Bob Ross.
Yeah, exactly. This stream. It's like 1 second, because you don't know what exactly a Serket will do. A Serket will mess up, but she's got a lot of abilities. A good Serket player will realize, oh, I've messed up here, but I have wiggle room to move around. I can do this, I can do that, and then 1 second go oh, you ruined it, into oh, it's a masterpiece saved, stuff like that.
good counterplay, I always thought to Sercat, coming from the support position, or if there was an opportunity to counterplay with this pick in solo back in
Mhm.
season 2. I don't know if this is like I don't know if this is remotely viable in season 3 yet. I haven't had a chance to test it, but
Mhm.
Ares with those chains,
Yeah.
you get a chain on Sercat, she dies.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
I mean, that was
Serket's forced to
was
beads or
literally
Aegis or Sanctuary.
that was literally the only viable counterplay I ever saw
Yeah.
to Sercat.
Now here's
That
the
was it.
thing: people don't realize this. ChinxZhao is a hard carry to Serket.
That too.
Yeah.
With the artillery sash, definitely can
Because it doesnment matter how fast.
level the
like,
playing field.
Yeah, because the death span is like going back and forth. Basically, you throw it in that general direction, you'll hit her almost 90% of the time. Well, unless she cancels it early and then jumps away, which is like most Serket players do against ChinxZhao now. But like ChinxZhao is still a really good counter against Serket. Now,
Now, I'm not sure about the Cobra's Kiss changes, but
Mhm.
I feel like the Deathbane
Oh, let's go
cooldown
with
going
the-
down by 2 seconds is gonna be
Let's go.
I think that's gonna be a bigger shot or bigger change for her than I think the
Yeah,
changes to Cobra's
of
Kiss
course it
will
is.
be.
That's the thing, like, cause alright, going by order, Deathbane was her. If you do not know who Serket is, or if you've never played Serket before, Deathbane is her first ability and is her most damaging ability, I should say. I place my bet on that it's probably
Mhm.
her most damaging ability, right?
I
Because
think-
it
yeah.
can crit,
Mm-hmm.
and it can crit more than once.
Yes, like
Which
getting
is-
3 crits on a Deathbane is
Yeah,
oof.
it's basically, well, where did my health go? Goodbye. Yeah.
Exactly.
So Deathbane, lowering it from 12 seconds to 10 seconds means that if she, Serket doesn't usually go Breastplate of Valor, but if she gets Jotuns, that means her cooldown at max rank, I do believe, is more of a 5-second. More 5
Well,
seconds now, I think, or
I
somewhere
don't.
around 6.
I was gonna say probably. I would say about 6 seconds is
Yeah.
probably right about. If you're talking about full CDR,
Yeah,
it's
full CDR
about 6
is about
seconds.
6 seconds.
Yeah,
Because they
it would
usually
be
don't.
yeah,
They
it'd be
usually
6 seconds with full. Like 8. I think it would be 8 seconds if you just got
Oh,
like 20%.
okay. Well, if you just got 20%, yeah. So that would be. Still, that's a really good. That's a really. It's really good for her because that's her main damaging ability, and other than that, you might as well just get you might as well build her attack speed, which I always found it strange because like, Serket really never was that. Oh, I'm a burst assassin or I'm an auto attack assassin. It's kind of a weird mix of both. I've always thought about it. Because
I'm not so sure about auto attacks, but I always favored the burst build on her.
yeah,
I
because
really did. Like the Jotuns into the crit.
Yeah, it
used to
was
always be the
really
thing.
secure
and
damage.
And I'd put in like a Titan's Bane to ensure
Yeah.
even more damage at that point.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Like I recently played Serket and she's still really strong. This just makes her that much stronger, I'd say, because the reduced cooldown on her first ability, which is Deathbane, which is just makes it that stronger. She can get in, get out, and if you're chasing her, she can get out again. It's crazy how much damage she has in her kit. Now,
So this was hold on. This
Yeah.
was the real. This was kind of high res's rationale behind giving a little love to Serket more or less. Serket was placed in a rough spot after the season 3 changes. She was nerfed and not only from direct changes to her mobility, but her build path to crit and CDR was made less effective and more expensive. It was the amount of Serket being played went basically bottomed out more or less. And the changes were too much this patch to bringing back some mobility through Deathbane and shift some of her power away from needing crit to be effective. So
Yeah.
I think there's going to be less reliance on crit and more if you rush early pen. You would honestly do this type of build on a Naja, for example. You go, or at least in season 2 you did. You would go Warrior Tab by Jotuns, Deathbringer, Titan's Bane.
Yeah.
You don't need a second crit item in the 4th slot to ensure more damage.
Yeah.
So I see that kind of happening with her now.
Especially with some of the Malice changes. Malice is definitely wiggled its way into Serket's build.
Oh yeah.
Especially with
Yeah,
her
I agree.
poison. Yeah. Now Cobra's
Or
Kiss. Or if you wanted to make one last point, or
No, I was gonna say if you wanted to be cheeky and like build Heartseeker on Serket, which I've done before, the new Heartseeker.
yeah, the new Heartseeker is pretty good.
That's always fun.
Yeah. Now Cobra's Kiss. I never thought of Cobra's Kiss to be like something that needed to be buffed. I felt like it was always good where it was standing. But now looking at some of the buffs, I feel like this just makes Serket top tier again.
Well,
Like or-
specifically they went after making the damage and the scaling a little bit higher.
yeah.
Notice how they left the madness duration. The madness duration is perfect, exactly
Yeah.
where it needs to
No,
be.
yeah.
So the damage going up,
hilarious.
I think, will help it a little bit more.
It stays at 50% at rank 1, which is good because that's perfect stuff. But it goes up like 50. It goes up like an extra 5 damage.
25.
Yeah, 25 damage. 5 more than before, and then another 25, 25, 25, capping out at 150. That damage is actually really significant if you think about it.
Yeah, and if you land both hits of the Cobra's Kiss, you're talking about at max rank automatically doing 300 damage before you add any of the scaling in there.
And usually when you hit the first one and there's not a second target, you're secure to land the second one, which is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And the scaling is 50%, which means that's pretty strong as well. So you're probably gonna end up hitting around like maybe 400 for landing buff.
Yeah. I think there's going to be renewed effort to play Serket so people can start, landing both hits of that Cobra's Kiss.
Yeah.
Because landing both of those is going to be really, really
definitely.
Strong. I'd like to see Serket come back. Yeah, I'd like to see Serket come back slowly right off the bat. I still feel like
this is what
Assassins can do really well in Season 3.
I feel like what this change does is it's bringing Serket back slowly. She's I'd said before that she's top tier, but she's not like the upper echelon of the top tier, I should say. She's one of the better junglers.
She's
now.
like an upper mid carder.
Yeah,
it's kind of the way that I like to refer to it.
Yeah,
upper
she's like played in certain situations. Like
she was a really, really strong counter pick.
Yeah, she's
like any team with any semblance of healing.
Yeah,
people would pick her.
Yeah, like she's really strong against Kali because her bleed, her ult, like if Kali ults,
let's not forget,
it's true damage too, and her ult prevents healing. So it's really strong against Kali, especially when Kali gets away and you manage to hold her anyways. Once the ult dies, she's gonna have like maybe 1 health left, and that's an instant kill. That's basically an instant kill.
Yeah, if you're Kali at that point, you wait until the very last possible second to hit destruction at that point.
Yeah.
Before you, last breath. When you're at level 20 and you ult somebody, you're doing almost 700 true damage to somebody.
Yeah.
That cannot be mitigated. There's no way to prevent it. Like, you won't take that damage.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been a very interesting talking point
Madness
of
damage.
me and the Serket coming back, but the next god on the list has been a very, very interesting discussion.
Let's hold off real quick. We haven't gone through like the madness damage, which is actually insane.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
getting a little bit ahead.
This is insane because instead of going up by 10 every race, it's 25 now. That's amazing damage now.
That's really, really strong.
And then the madness scaling increasing by 50% as well. That's insane. That madness damage, like, I'm pretty sure this just kind of made her that much stronger now. Because
they're attempting to bring Serket back into relevant competitive play.
Yeah,
that's what this change is about.
Yeah, that's really insane. But it's at the same time, I'm actually kind of excited for this too, because that means she's actually maxing your Cobra's Kiss is actually a good thing now, instead of just going from your 1 to your ult and maxing Cobra Kiss only because you can't max your 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like
a very interesting change with this as well. Bringing Serket back into relevancies. There's been a lot of talk about how like beefy the solo lane warriors are. And all the warriors have some way, shape, or form have a heal to them.
Yeah.
So why not bring back Serket? A little bit of anti-heal wouldn't hurt. As you try to kind of nerf solo lane. Make the characters that have good anti-heal out of the jungle.
Circuit.
make them a little bit stronger. So, which is this is their cat. So
Yeah, Circuit's always
it's
been
all
good.
in an effort to nerf the solo lane because the solo lane in season 3 was. There's another rant for that.
I
on
thought
another day.
I thought they had increased ambush's damage somewhere on the original. They may have reverted that because I think there was like something to do with ambush in one of the patches when I first watched it, but maybe not. Maybe they reverted some of the changes. Maybe they thought it was too much. But I mean,
well,
of course,
ambush at rank 5 does 320 damage if you can secure that. Yeah,
what's rank 1?
pretty strong.
What is rank 1?
Rank 1 is 80.
Okay,
Rank
yeah.
1 is 80.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Ambush already is pretty strong. I think they were like changing it or nerfing it a little bit. Not exactly sure. Maybe they just take it out. They just took it out last second. Think about it.
Yeah.
And of course, to make the two-tip less confusing, always a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, like, just saying, one last thing about Circuit. This just makes her kit that much more deadlier. Because let's not forget, if you ult someone and you auto attack them once, there goes 10% of your health, or
Exactly.
or 20%, however much it is. And you hit them again, there goes another chunk of their health, and it's just so much.
Yeah. 2 poisons. All right, so I got her passive catalyst right now. It's 2 poisons. So if you hit her with, you hit them with the Cobra's Kiss and the Last Breath, and you're doing 10% target's maximum health as physical damage. Now, if you hit them with the Death Bane before you hit them, that's 3 poisons. So you get 20% of target's max health.
That's amazing.
Like that's big.
That's rather.
It's a lot bigger than people give them credit. Or give that credit for.
They ambush it.
Crazy.
If they don't land on them, then they're pretty damn close to them. Cobra Kiss, then Death Bane, ult them into a wall, auto attack them once, and that's usually enough to secure the kill.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sir Cat.
Yeah, Sir Cat. Moving on, the next god on the patch, Scotty. She's getting a massive buff.
Massive buff.
Yeah, she's getting a massive buff. Did you not?
Nerf.
No, did you not know?
No.
Like her 3, like they were like, oh, well, Scotty doesn't have an escape anymore. So instead of her 3, instead of would still do that whole little ice skating thing. She walks to the center of it. She leaps into the air like a Rama, and she gets to choose where she lands. Now it's a global. It's literally a global. She lands, and if she lands on a target, it's like on her leap. And if it leaps onto an enemy god, they get knocked back. And not only that, after the knockback, they get stunned for 2 seconds. and from that,
If only.
And from that, her icicle spear, instead of being a slow, now has a 30% slow now at all ranks, but acts like Honor's impale and can stun someone into the wall. So it's from a global to a stun to a stun. Oh, and Calder has a 100%. Calder's attack is 100% of Scotty's physical power now, instead of just being at rank 5.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's broken game.
All right,
But yeah,
so
this is some needed nerfs.
And this is where it's going to start. And so this is basically kind of where, I mean, when you're fighting Scotty, it was always Scotty and Calder. Like Scotty in the dual lane was always a 3v2.
Yeah,
that's definitely the things that I noticed, because Calder was definitely strong. The dash attack definitely needed an increased cooldown, because literally all you have to do is put 1 point into it and then he'll run to somebody. So making it 5 seconds, that's a little bit better.
It's like
now,
attack.
Reducing the duration of the ultimate, making Calder immune for about 1 more second less, reduces her split push potential a little bit, but I'd look to see that kind of come down a little bit more.
I also think that they should maybe not completely remove the root, maybe lower it to a second all around, instead of making it that much secure damage, because Scotty's got a movement speed buff, she's got a slow, she's got
she's got a pretty beefy slow as well.
Also,
because think about it.
Yeah.
Because think about it, piercing cold, you're 1. That's your primary wave clear.
Yeah.
So you're gonna max that first. So at level 9, you have a 40% slow. At level 9, that needs to come down.
Yeah.
That's one of the first changes I would make with her. Is bring that down a little bit.
Now, if you look at Calder, look at rank 5, I believe. Now read that to me. I think
rank 5. Yeah. Calder's basic attacks give Scotty 10% increased movement speed.
Yep.
something else is I think Calder's damage needs to come down as well. Like I think it needs to cap at 80.
Yeah.
Make it 40, 50, 60, 70, 80.
Uh-huh.
Going all the way up. I don't think Calder needs to attack for as much as Scotty does.
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
that's too strong. Like that's what will balance that ability. I think.
Not only
Permafrost,
that-
I think is perfectly fine.
Not only that, because if you look at rank 5, basically Scotty's getting a 35% movement speed if she walks over her ice. Now, along with that, sprint. You're not getting away from her.
Yeah, she can move, and most Scotties are building Frostalis basically.
Yeah.
So they're guaranteed to slow you and do circles around you.
She's got way too much movement speed. Like, take something away. Take one of the movement speeds away. Sprint by itself is good, strong enough, but like maybe reduce like the movement speed from 25% to maybe like 10%.
Or 15.
Or
like
15,
if you're gonna take it down from 25, make it 15.
Yeah.
Because tuning it down 5%, you won't notice a big when in
10,
season 2, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was going to say in season 2, for example, when there was a change from building full CDR at 40% to a lot of mages featuring pen boots, but building 35% CDR when Wingblade was still kind of when Wingblade still had CDR in it, when it was like one of the better items in the game. Like you're not going to notice a whole lot missing from 5%. Like it's literally 2 seconds at most.
Yeah. Now, if you lower it by 15 or 10%, you'll see a difference.
You'll see a noticeable difference.
You have to play, smarter, and it's not just like throwing your spears randomly in the person in front of you.
With Scotty not having a designed escape, and I use design very lightly because she has all these different things that can get her around.
Yeah, her movement speed was supposed to be her escape, but at the same time, you just stun her, and she's kind of screwed.
Yeah.
And then once the ice patch disappears too, it's kind of dead.
Exactly. I think Permafrost or Ice Patch is actually probably right where it needs to be. The initial damage is one thing. Damage per tick is fine. Slow. I mean, you could honestly bump that up to 20% if you were feeling it.
Yeah.
Although I think 15 is probably right where it needs to be. It's an interesting change for her ultimate. How about instead of a root, it's like a 50% slow, something crazy like that. I feel like a root for Winter's Grasp, her ultimate is just is a little too strong.
Do you get rooted in a blizzard? Probably, but not like maybe after you stand in a while.
Yeah.
You'd get slowed as first, and then you get rooted. That would be a good change. It starts out as a slow, and if you stand in it for a certain second, you get rooted. Kind of like Victor from League of Legends, his little trap thing. If you stand in it, you get slowed in it. If you stand in it for too long, you get stunned.
Yeah. Well, the only real issue with changing it to a slow is, Scotty has a slow on her 1. It's got a slow on her 3, and then you're talking about putting a slow on her ult.
Yeah.
Like that's, I don't know. That might be a little excessive. Maybe that's why they went with the root.
But maybe take the slow away from one of her abilities and change it to something else, or maybe reduce the slow like completely to like maybe like just like 5% or something, or 5 or 10%, because her main damage ability doesn't need to be a huge damage along with another slow. At least I don't think so.
Either that or reduce the root duration, have it cap out at 1.5 as opposed to capping out at 2 seconds, because that's pretty strong.
Yeah, that is too strong.
So the proposed changes again for Scotty would be the slow numbers on her 1, maybe have it cap out at 30%. I think that's a really good number. 40 is way too strong.
Yeah.
Calder bringing him back into a little bit more alignment. The basic attack damage 40 through 80. Permafrost is fine. I think that's literally perfect. And then the Winter's Grasp, maybe reduce the root duration or consider making it a slow. The damage is fine. Yeah. I actually think the damage is perfect for that. For that type of
fine. It's just that it's a little pisses off when you're rooted for that entire damage.
Yeah,
that's what's pissing most people off.
Well, you can't touch the damage on that.
Damage is fine.
Yeah.
For an ultimate, it's fine as damage.
Mm.
Now, moving on to a god that was
Sun Wukong.
rather close to my heart at one point. Uh, for all you Chinese viewers out there, is Su Wukong. Yeah, he's getting. I don't even know if I want to call it a buff. A health
Slight
buff. A
buff.
slight buff. Nothing really
Makes
much.
makes his early levels a little bit stronger, I think.
Yeah, it just makes his early levels. But like my first thought when it came to mind when they announced this that his buff they buffed his health from like 450 to 470. I looked at it and I thought to myself, still not gonna change his laning phase too much. Yeah, sure he can take a little bit more of a beating, but his abilities, still cost a little bit too much mana at level 1 and 2. Kind of
I
negates
agree.
his clear rate.
That's true.
You don't have
Well,
to
I mean,
negate it all the way. You don't have to like negate the nerf that you did a couple patches ago to him all the way back to where he was before. No, then Wukong would be like overplayed again. Maybe like reduce the mana by like 10
yeah,
10 all around.
I definitely see a mana cost change being really strong for him. Hold on, let me pull up the numbers so I can see what's going on. Wukong is definitely very close to my heart as well. He was one of the gods that I grinded to diamond in the solo lane, in almost exclusively ranked play. Like I would not play him in any other mode.
Yeah.
So the magic cudgel cost goes from 50 mana all the way up through 90. Now Master's Will having a flat 60 mana cost.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Like
That's
but
yeah,
but the animals having 65 at level 1, that's too high.
Yeah, because I don't know what mana. What is Wukong's mana pool right now?
Hold on. Hold on. Where's the stats? There it is. It starts at 240.
Okay, 240. Yeah, with blue buff, I can see you maybe clearing 5 or 6 waves before you're out of mana. Which at that point you should probably have your boots finished. And I understand that and all, but I mean, your solo lane never goes the way you expect it to, because people will clear the wave early and they'll be like, all right, let's fight. Then you're forced to use abilities on them, or maybe even forced to use ability to get out, which, as you pointed out earlier, the animal form, 72 transformations, I believe it's called, even though it's only 3, it costs 65, and that's
at rank 1, yeah.
basically half your clear gone.
But see, something interesting, and I feel like this was a Master's Will, Wukong's 2, definitely been an ability that's been changed quite a bit. When I first started playing Wukong, was when Master's Will was a knock up and an interrupt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were playing back then. I don't know if you remember that, but that was fun.
It used to be
that made him a perfect support.
Yeah, he was really good. He was really good. He was really good in the solo lane too. I don't know if I think it may have interrupted Guan's Talu assault as well.
Yeah. Anything that was considered an interrupt, yeah. Wukong was definitely one of these gods that it's so hard to perfectly balance him.
Yeah.
They took away they had to put a slow on his Master's Will, otherwise, what's the point of even having it after you take that off? Yeah. 72 transformations that the mana cost, I don't remember them always being that high, but just because Wukong was so safe, they had to kind of do something to try to balance that.
Also, his tiger form did a lot of damage, and it was a hard ability to land.
That.
It was a hard ability to land. That was fine, because it was a hard ability to land. People could juke it. And if you were smart about it, people would juke into it sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
So,
and definitely, the tiger damage would go from 100 all the way up to 380 with 80% of your physical power. Ugh.
Yeah, the tiger. It was a strong ability for a very hard, high skill level ability to land.
It took me a while to kind of get the basics of Wukong down, but once I did, I took him into solo lane when he came back into the meta. I think I was halfway through season 2.
Yeah.
I never lost the game.
Wukong was really strong. Wukong. Was really dominant, and they were like, but that was the thing. They probably must have dominated in casual play, because for whatever reason they take it off of casual people and they listen to Reddit. Fucking what? But anyways,
Yeah.
moving on.
Vulcan.
You were saying something about Somersault Cloud.
Oh, Somersault Cloud. Yeah. Sorry. Before I get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Somersault Cloud was always that ability that does a deceptively large amount of damage. But
Yeah.
nobody does it for damage. Nobody.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be your escape. It literally is.
It's so much more useful as an escape. That's the thing. Because you go
It's
invisible.
definitely a
You summon a
utility
clone.
ability,
Yeah.
I feel.
You summon a clone of yourself. Loki can ult that clone. Who else? Like a lot of.
I've seen Thor like smash down on clones before. It's like
Yeah.
super effective. You always have to take a second to look at the Wukong. If he's literally running straight towards you,
Uh-huh.
like past minions and stuff, then it's the clone.
Yeah,
But, you
and
know,
that's also the thing.
But see, you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah, exactly. You could like, yeah, basically like people would be like, "Oh, that's the fake Wukong," and all of a sudden your backline is there. It's like, "What? I thought that was the fake one." No, it's good
You
Wukong
hit a
players know what to
master's
do.
will. Yeah, you hit a master's will like in late game, and you do like 400 damage to squishy targets, and then they're all slowed for 30% for 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
One of the little known things about Wukong is one of the things that I truly appreciate is his passive.
yeah, it's passive.
Some Wukong,
Great.
yes. Some Wukong is below 35% health. He gains 10% critical strike chance and 10 plus 10 protections, plus another 1% critical strike chance and 1 protection per his current level.
Yeah.
That is super deceptive. So I don't care. It's like I honestly go more aggressive with Wukong than I do Hercules. And I mean, you've seen me play Hercules, and you know how crazy I go with that. But like Wukong, I get to some lower levels. Like I'm like crit chance, let's go.
Yeah, crit chance.
Pretty
is
nice.
Fucking on a warrior like Wukong, you just don't expect that stuff. But I mean, like that's.
You know what would be hilarious is if Ho Yi's and Sun Wukong's passives were switched.
Huh.
Like it would make sense for both of those characters
Yeah.
because Ho Yi you have like can't be crit but once per 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you have but imagine putting that on Ho Yi. It's something to think about.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
I'd definitely make Ho Yi probably an Artemis type character.
I think so.
But I mean, then again, that might be a little bit too much because that just literally
I think so.
that widened the gap between Ho Yi and Chiron.
Yeah, I think so.
So moving
Yeah,
on.
Wukong's getting a little bit of love. Like I'm pretty happy about that.
Now, moving on, they're slowly but surely buffing my god pool, which is technically Wolf's god pool. And Wolf is probably pretty happy about some of these buffs, but like he's always been clamoring about the mana buff problems, which I agree. But yeah, moving on. Vulcan.
A change to Vulcan's ultimate. Now, I love Vulcan.
I don't know about this, honestly.
I love Vulcan.
Yeah.
And, you know, while I'm happy to see this change, and I wanted to see more damage come to a close range Earthshaker, you're not using Earthshaker to do damage. No. Unless you're literally taking pot shots, which I've been known to do from time to time. I mean, if you're trying to take pot shots and hit max range Earthshakers, like, people are going to juke out of it. Yeah. You know, so positioning was always everything. So you increase the point blank damage to provide yourself an area to where you can leave if you have to, because one of the things with Vulcan is like his low mobility. Yeah. Although Backfire was always one of my favorite abilities. Did a ton of damage. But you reduce the travel time at max range. I'll have to play test this a little bit to kind of see how long it takes for max range ult to hit. I think they showed it off a little bit. At max range is about like 3-4 seconds, I think. Yeah. Somewhere around there. You know, just pulling up the graph here, the max range Earthshaker damage starts at a base of 880 damage. That's before you add the 130% of your magical power scaling into it. Yeah, so you're talking about this absurd damage. Yeah, it's amazing. I love Vulcan, and I'm happy about this. It's an amazing ultimate if you land it correctly, and if you know, of course. Like, I love using it just like going, oh, nuclear launch incoming, and the whole StarCraft reference. Yeah, exactly. Shout outs to StarCraft. Still one of my favorite games of all time.
Yep.
But Earthshaker late game was definitely used kind of more as a zoning ability. It'd be
Or
good
like
to
an
use to
objective
kind of peel
secure.
people off of an objective. Yeah, that too. It'd be good to peel somebody off of a Phoenix if you were trying to take a Phoenix, you know? Like, you're going to shoot an Earthshaker at somebody, cool. Like, you're daring them to step up to try to stop you from taking a Phoenix, you know? It's decent objective secure. It's a lot better if you have a chance to kind of like, you know, get to the range of it. But you know, I see this changing Vulcan a little bit. I don't think this brings him back into competitive play yet because he's just so easy to run down. He really is.
Yeah, there are so many better picks than Vulcan as of right now. This just makes him better at point blank range, which honestly is probably where he should be hitting most of his abilities anyways. He's
I
not
agree.
Vulcan has never been really known for a long range guy unless it's one shotting someone with the Earthshaker. But now that it's its
Vulcan's
max
ability,
max range has been like reduced. Max range or
or reduce
yeah,
the travel time at
yeah,
max range. Yeah,
it reduces travel time. It's still pretty good. It just makes it that much
it's
better.
High Res's rationale behind it is Earthshaker is seeing some love this patch in terms of better usability, more damage when used close, and less travel time. Thus, supposedly more accurate when used far away. Vulcan's backfire was always and Vulcan was always one of these like crazy mages that you could play any specific way you wanted to. You could max backfire first. You could max the cannon first. You could max the magma bomb first. But you know, most Vulcans you'll say backfire is like one of the most efficient wave clearing abilities that you can do. So backfire would be first, and then maybe the magma bomb for poke.
Yeah.
You know, and or you could do turret second. You know, it's just I love the utility that Vulcan could give you. But Vulcan's best when Vulcan was at his best was he you play him like an Anubis. You put on a lot of good early pressure.
Yeah.
You know, you position the turret to where like if the enemy mage is going to step up and try to, you know, even think about clearing the wave, you're taking at least 2 shots from the Inferno Cannon. At least. You
Yeah,
know,
now
things
like
that.
see, I had recently like in ranked, I had recently played against a very aggressive Vulcan player. But the thing was that Vulcan makes an early damage, early to mid game damage and secure damage at least I should say. A character like Janice, Isis, you know,
Anybody with some kind of movement.
yeah, anybody with something like even Poseidon at this point could like literally outbox you in late game.
You have to be extremely accurate with your backfire or your
Yeah.
magma bombs for that to happen. And magma bomb is pretty easy to dodge, I would say.
Like you'll get their tower pretty early, but after that, you're not getting tier
Yeah.
2. You're not getting tier
mean,
2. You're gonna lose your team fights most of the time because you're gonna waste your entire kit, and your main damage is to get you the hell away from everyone, which is like you back up.
Vulcan has good late game damage, but it's all about making sure you land it.
Yeah, you have to
know,
be consistent.
like
with
a
Vulcan.
magma bomb late game would probably hit for a good 500 to 600. You know, with a good do more style of Vulcan build, which you know do more by itself was always kind of a risk, but you know back when do more and Spear of Desolation kind of made their way back to the mage builds, you know, I hit a full build Vulcan backfire on a squishy target for like a 1200 damage.
Yeah.
Something like that. And that was his one. That wasn't his ult. And I was giddy over it. So
Yeah. So
the potential for Vulcan was always through the roof, but they always had to kind of keep him down. Like you give him any sort of movement ability, and Vulcan's the best mage.
yeah, I feel like it's kind of like Sun Wukong. It's just like they don't know what to do with him. I love the old school Thumper build. Like it kind of made you feel like you were playing tower defense.
Yeah, it was definitely something.
Yeah. A lot of people
Vulcan
would
will
agree.
be Vulcan.
But like Vulcan
right,
now,
so.
I don't like. We just don't see him returning to competitive or like
He's
high ranker play.
He's a fun casual god to play because
I've seen
playing him in casuals, not a lot of people play against him.
Yeah, I've seen people play him against in like solo or not solo lane, the dual lane.
ADC Vulcan, yeah. Shout outs to Snoopy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nothing wrong there. You have Kronos in the solo lane or dual lane, and you have Soul in this dual lane as well. So I wouldn't Vulcan fit in there.
Vulcan was definitely one of those more ability-based mages that could profit in the dual lane because you do a lot more damage early than the hunters were.
Mhm.
Vulcan's usability was always probably, I would have to say, was it like level 8 or 9 through the end game, I would say.
Mhm.
But before you got to like level 7 or level 8, he was pretty abysmal. You had to really kind of string together a lot of good abilities to clear away. He was very, very mana intensive.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
this is one piece of the pie with Vulcan. I'd like to see maybe the Inferno Cannon get a slight buff. Maybe just make it just a hair tankier, probably in every single level that's going up. I think probably wouldn't be too bad for it. But other than that, I think Vulcan's like if you do any more with Vulcan, he's going to be really strong.
Yeah. All right. Moving on from Vulcan, the last god that's being changed in this patch is Zeus. Aegis Assault no longer knocks back minions. Now I've had some time to think about this. This just helps him wave clear better. That's basically it.
Aegis Assault was always one of those abilities that's a very, very popular discussion topic because
Mhm.
the old Aegis Shield, I believe, is what it was used to be referred to as. Um, gave him some basic attack reflect. You put a charge on somebody if they were basic attacking you, plus you get a little bit of movement speed out of it
Yep.
as well. That was the only source of movement that Zeus had.
Mhm.
But of course, now you find Zeus in the wrong corner of the jungle. He throws down Aegis Assault, hits it with Chain Lightning. You have instant 3 charges on you, and there goes 3/4 of your health early
Yes.
on. He is scary in a 1v1 setup. He really is.
Kind of retarded in that sense. Zeus
But in
is
terms of
suddenly.
conquest, he's like on the same level of Vulcan, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Like he's got that high burst damage, high stuff like that, but once a jungler sits on his face, you can't do
Oh yeah.
anything about it.
Like any person would pick Zeus, I'd be like, okay, cool. Let me just go get somebody like Thor and just guaranteed Anvil of Dawn right onto
Yeah,
Zeus's face.
basically,
Pretty much.
Aegis Assault is the only thing is just helping his wave clear. That's about it.
I think so.
That's the only
Because
change.
most people will start the Aegis Assault and then throw auto attacks into it
Mhm.
to kind of increase the damage. I mean, it's good jungle camp clear at
Yeah.
level 1, and it's good like archer clear at level 1, but that's
I
that's
always
about
found
it.
that a little bit annoying about his Aegis Assault that it knocked back people.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And it and it does a lot of damage too. Like
yeah, it does quite a bit of damage to them.
people the initial damage of the shield landing on your face would honestly kind of surprise people. Like they'd be like, "Oh, I just took 400 damage from this ability. What is this?" And it's not chain lightning, and it's not a detonate. Like
Mhm.
Zeus, what sort of magic are you pulling?
It's
Crazy stuff like
Zeus's
that.
secure damage. Basically, Zeus is all damage and nothing else.
Hmm. He definitely reminds me of Anubis in a sense that
Mhm.
even though I think Anubis is a little bit worse off, because 2 of his abilities have you standing exactly still. I remember when you had to be rooted to cast Zeus's ultimate. Like, oh, that was literally the worst. And now you don't
Yep.
have to, and that was definitely a good quality to life change for him. But
That was
Zeus is definitely still bottom tier in my opinion.
he's he's all right if you want to do cheese plays, but other than that, I think
Yeah.
he's strong play given the good given him the right person's hands. But then again, like if you give anybody give any god to the right person's hands, they will play rather well.
Hmm.
And I believe
Any
that's
god that snowballs early can do well.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
doesn't matter who it is.
And I believe that's the end of all the patches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing else to talk about. This is it was a small patch, but it actually did a lot to the game. I
Hmm.
feel like it changed a lot of things, and it feels like a lot of things are going to be a little bit different, if not. I don't think it's a major change, but it's a little different, subtle differences here and there that'll affect the game eventually.
This is definitely just the start. I feel.
Yeah.
There's definitely some more changes. I think coming to Scotty. I'd like maybe Isis probably will take maybe 1 or 2 more nerfs. Sir Cat. They may revert this. They may feel that the changes that Sir Cat's
Mhm.
getting will be way too strong.
Or they might like tone it down a little bit, like on any
Exactly.
certain time. Yeah.
Capri, I think, is still going to see another nerf. I think the ambush damage,
Uh-huh.
his dash. That damage will come down a little bit more. I don't know. Like A lot of these god changes are interesting, and I have to play test them to kind of figure out if if I'm gonna get behind them or not.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a like if I see it, I'll definitely kind of know a little bit more about how these things change. But
Hmm.
the kind of the highlights, throwing dagger, the changes to throwing dagger and golden bow are pretty significant. Sovereignty,
Hmm.
I think we'll be back in every sort of support build.
Hmm.
You know,
I think. All right, you said highlights. Let's go through it. Like
yeah.
say like maybe 5 things that are the biggest things, the biggest changes for you in this patch.
Okay. Sovereignty being, I would say probably the biggest one.
Hmm.
It's definitely going to start figuring back into a lot of my tankier support builds. Whether they be warriors or I've been playing a lot of warrior support lately. I've been seeing if that
Yep.
can start to be viable again. A good Hercules support being able to hit a nice Earthbreaker and be tanky enough to set up for First Blood is really really big.
Yep.
Um, the changes to throwing dagger and golden bow are going to really help Mercury. Mercury being one of my most played gods.
Hmm.
I definitely like that. The changes to a Muzen Cobb, I might actually start kind of getting back into playing more Muzen Cobb. I don't know. A Muzen Cobb seems like he's got some really good potential. I have a feeling with the change to Artemis, though, I'm going to see a lot of Artemis in 1v1s, and drives me up the wall having to fight them. I would say those are probably the biggest things that I've seen so far.
Yeah. So I guess the biggest takeaways or highlights for me is definitely as a jungler the Socket changes because Socket has always been like one of those gods with a high skill cap and stuff like that. And I've only recently started playing Socket again, and I've realized that how well I can play her. That's definitely one of the biggest highlights because her damage is going up. The Scotty nerfs basically giving me a sign that yeah, they know what they're doing. They realize that their OP gods are really OP, so they're gonna try and tone them down. At least it took them. At least it was quicker than when they released Soul or Kepri, where it took like literally 3 patches
Dude,
before they got toned down.
Soul.
Yeah.
Really Soul. Ugh.
Kepri nerf definitely
Yeah.
makes
The
them
changes to Capri are going to be really big, I
yeah
feel.
makes them I guess a good secondary target if the ADC gets away and you're ganking this dual lane. And then definitely the Isis slight nerf to Isis makes her not like god tier anymore, and the whole Chiron ultimate change, which is quite good. Yeah, I actually quite like that change.
Definitely a good sign.
Now,
And it's just like you said earlier. It's a small patch,
mhm,
but it does a lot. And these are the type of patches that I like, where you don't have to enter. A lot of times, these type of patches were often introduced with a new
uh-huh.
god. I want to see more frequency with these patches
Yeah, these hot
on
fixes.
the off weeks. Yeah, like more of the hot fixes. I want to see these like on the off weeks.
Now,
When the new gods aren't being
now,
introduced.
of course, with every good side of the patch, there might always be a bad side. Like, let's see, is there like anything bad you see coming out of this patch?
Well, me personally, something that affects me specifically, like
Hmm.
the Circuit changes could definitely make Circuit a lot harder to deal with. I'm gonna have
Hmm.
to get myself accustomed to fighting Circuit a lot more.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
definitely.
the amount of Circuit play is gonna basically go through the roof.
Yeah.
Um, they could have done a little bit more with Scotty, but I like this is it's a bad thing, but I definitely see this as being kind of a good thing. They
Yeah.
could have done more with Scotty, but I think this is a good start for her.
Hmm.
Um, the change to sovereignty could be bad as well. It
Yeah.
definitely just I
Just needs to
mean
be
that
tested.
being yeah just to me things just need to be tested before I come up with a more conclusive opinion on everything.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's just
definitely.
it.
I guess for me, a lot of the Scotty thing. I have to agree with you on the Scotty. They could have done more, but it's a good step. It's a good baby step, I guess.
Hmm.
I guess another bad change would probably be the little bit of a. I'm not really. I'm not really. Uh, I'm on. I'm kind of flip floppy on the Artemis change because
Yeah.
although I'd like to see like a new hunter variation into the dual lane instead of being you know, your Hou-Yis, your Chirons, and then your Neiths, and then Hou-Yi, Chiron, Neith. You know, those three, and then maybe Apollo. I actually like to see. Yeah, I like seeing that there's a variation in the dual lane, but at the same time, I'm not. I don't know about the whole Vengeful Assault increase in is it damage or is it attack speed?
It's literally just the attack speed being
Okay,
increased. Everything else will stay the same.
I don't know how I feel about that. Maxing out at 80%. At first, I really didn't like it. It was really pissing me off. But now, maybe it was. I think about it. It probably was needed. So I just have to wait and see on that one. And,
It's a 5% increase like at
Mhm.
every single rank.
Yeah.
You know, because right now currently it's 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, and it goes from 40 to 80. You know, the same sort of substantial 10% increase in attack speed. You know,
Yeah.
so again, a lot of these things need to be play tested. But again, we like small small patches
Tweaks
like
here and
this
there.
where there's a lot to play test.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
to where we don't have to deal with a new god up our buttholes. You know,
Yeah.
while trying to playtest some of this, so we can actually get some substantial data on this.
So I
My
guess
opinion on it, at least.
I guess my final, and then I guess the final bet. I guess it's not really too bad of a thing, but I feel like they could have done a little bit more with Wukong. Yeah, it might be
Yeah.
that little solo laner inside of me, just like that. That little gleam of light inside of me, just give him a little bit, you know, a little bit less mana cost. Maybe make him a little bit better now.
Maybe soon.
Maybe soon. Maybe soon. But
One
like,
can hope.
of course, this is always a good step, giving him a 20 extra HP. Yeah.
To me, the Wukong changes means that they're starting to look at gods that were underperforming, which is why I was very surprised with the last change or with the last patch. They buffed Hercules. I literally lost my shit.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, there's no way that they're gonna buff Hercules, and you know they were like, just pump your brakes on the Hercules. You know they're small, but hey, any change in the positive direction is still a positive change.
Yeah, that's how I felt about
We'll see what
Serket.
happens.
That's how I felt about Serket. They were like, all right, Poseidon's got a little bit fixes, you know, Capri's got a little bit fixed, and now we're giving Serket a buff, and I lost my mind. I was like, wait, did I hear that correctly? You said you were giving Serket buffs.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what potentials comes out of this particular patch. But I think this is a good setup for going into the next patch when you know
definitely.
this is always a good patch. This is always a good format of the patch when they go into releasing a god with the next patch. You know?
Yeah,
They won't have
definitely.
to make such quite substantial changes with the next
They don't have
patch.
to make a huge impact, you know. It's small impacts here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
So
think
we'll see what happens.
the end of the patch. Thank you for joining me for going over this patch notes.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Anytime.
And of course, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button down below on the YouTube. On the YouTubes, there will be more content like this. I will be uploading more Smite gameplay and such. You can also feel free to follow me on Twitch. Link will be down in the description. And thank you for watching. Thanks for going over the patch with me. This will be this is the most recent patch of 3.5 support, protect and support, I believe is it called.
Yes.
Yeah, so protect and support. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks y'all guys for watching. See you later.